History has a pattern most people don't like to talk about. Societies don't collapse when life is hardest. They collapse after survival is solved. When food is abundant, when safety is assumed, when comfort becomes normal, that's when something subtle begins to happen. The danger isn't suffering. The danger is forgetting why strength was needed in the first place. Most civilizations don't fall apart in chaos. They drift apart in comfort. And by the time people notice, the foundations are already hollow. This isn't a video about hating comfort. Comfort is progress. It's what humans have always worked toward. But history shows something uncomfortable. When comfort removes pressure, standards quietly begin to decay. Pressure is what forces competence. Pressure is what demands discipline. And once pressure disappears, discipline slowly stops being necessary. Not because people suddenly become worse presidents, but because the system no longer requires them to be better. This pattern has played out before, more than once. Let's start with Rome. Early Rome wasn't built by luxury. It was built by citizens who lived hard lives and accepted responsibility as unavoidable. They farmed their land, they governed their communities, and when called upon, they fought. Military service wasn't a career. It wasn't a path to status. It was an obligation. Short campaigns, harsh conditions, endless repetition. Discipline wasn't admired. It was expected. Rome's strength came from a society where responsibility couldn't be outsourced. But as Rome expanded, everything changed. Territory increased, wealth flowed in, administration grew more complex, and gradually the nature of service shifted. Campaigns became longer. Soldiers became more dependent on the state for pay, rewards, and retirement. Later, Rome increasingly relied on allied and non-Roman forces, groups bound by treaties rather than shared civic identity. This didn't destroy Rome overnight. Rome still won battles, its cities still stood, its institutions still functioned. But the incentives underneath the system were changing. Defense slowly became someone else's job. Responsibility moved away from the average citizen, and when responsibility fades, discipline fades with it. Not because people lose character, but because the system no longer demands character to function. Rome didn't fall because people became lazy. It fell because a system designed for hardship struggled to operate in a world of prolonged comfort, abundance, and complexity. The standards that once held everything together no longer had the same force behind them. Now consider Sparta. Sparta is remembered as the ultimate disciplined society, and for a time, that reputation was earned. From childhood, Spartan citizens were trained for hardship. Food was limited, training was brutal, rules were unforgiving, discipline wasn't a virtue, it was a condition of membership. But Spartan strength rested on a narrow foundation. Only a small class of full citizens sustained the system. Over time, land and wealth concentrated into fewer hands. Fewer citizens qualified to participate fully in Spartan life. The citizen population declined sharply. Leaders attempted reforms, debt cancellation, land redistribution, structural change, but the system resisted adaptation. Sparta didn't collapse because its enemies suddenly became stronger. It collapsed because its discipline froze in place. The world changed. Sparta didn't. Strength that cannot adapt doesn't vanish immediately. It becomes ceremonial. What remains looks impressive. Rituals, uniforms, reputation, but the underlying capability fades. Here's the pattern history keeps repeating. Pressure creates standards. Standards create competence. Competence sustains systems. Comfort removes pressure. When pressure disappears, standards don't collapse dramatically. They decay quietly. There's no announcement, no clear turning point. Systems keep running. Buildings remain, titles persist, processes continue, but fewer people inside those systems are truly capable. Decline doesn't feel like failure. It feels like success. It feels like stability. It feels like progress. And that's what makes it dangerous. Now look around today. We live in the most comfortable period in human history. Food arrives effortlessly. Information is instant. Discomfort is treated as a flaw. Skills are replaced by convenience. Judgment is replaced by automated systems. Attention is constantly fragmented. Survival is assumed. And when survival is guaranteed, capability becomes optional. History doesn't say this makes people evil. It doesn't say this makes people weak. It says it makes societies fragile. Fragile systems function beautifully until they're stressed. And when stress returns, there's nothing underneath. This isn't a moral failure. It's human nature. Humans adapt to pressure. When pressure disappears, we adapt again. Standards exist because they're necessary. When necessity fades, standards loosen. Not intentionally, naturally. The danger isn't comfort itself. The danger is unearned ease. Comfort that arrives without requiring competence. That's when systems hollow out. Comfort doesn't destroy societies. Forgetting what created success does. Every strong society in history was forged under pressure, and every declining one eventually believed that pressure was no longer necessary. History isn't a warning about suffering, it's a warning about unearned ease, because the moment a society stops needing discipline is usually the moment it starts losing it.